Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup, and one with some very good news, as according to Bruno Andrade, a Tier 1 source, Richarlison has agreed a 5-year deal to join Tottenham, one that Tottenham are trying to get done this week. There's been plenty of developments on this deal today with regards to how advanced the negotiations are between the clubs, with players that Tottenham may potentially be trying to put the other way. With many updates on Steven Bergwijn as well, and where he may end up. But Bruno Andrade is telling us that Richarlison has agreed a 5-year deal with Tottenham, again as Spurs look to get this deal done this week. We questions there from Eric about Anthony Gordon from Everton. Well, we've updates on that as well, and that's one that's probably on the more unlikely side of things. But before I get into it, we've a few things to get through. Shauna, with the member for 13 months, thank you so much for that, Shauna. Says everyone smash a like. Please do smash a like if you are happy with this news. And Jack and Nicky as well with the $5 super chat. Thanks very much for that, Jack. Says Richarlison and Romero will be the most hated team in the league. And I said that, I put that up on Twitter, I think we're already a team that is disliked by many, but with Richarlison adding him into that team, I think we're going to become potentially the most disliked team in the Premier League, and I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. It's what Antonio Conte wants, and it's what Tottenham are going to be next season. But before we do dive into those reports, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that notification bell so you can be kept right up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer dealings throughout this summer transfer window and this week, where we do expect Tottenham to get this deal for Richarlison over the line. That report from Bruno Andrade, he said that Richarlison has agreed a deal at Tottenham until June 2027. Tottenham are hoping to complete the deal this week. And like we mentioned in that quick update we did earlier, Everton and their financial situation means that any sales they want to make, they kind of have to get done this week. So it's worked out, I suppose, in a very good way for Tottenham that Ajax, for tax reasons, won't be able to sign Bergwijn until next week, if they are the team that are going to be signing Bergwijn. And Everton, for their financial fair play reasons, need to get a big sale out before the end of this financial year. And that is going to be in the shape of Richarlison, hopefully to Tottenham. Bruno Andrade also said that Tottenham are really pushing to conclude a deal to sign Richarlison this week. Spurs' talks with the player are already well advanced, as we know. He's also said that Tottenham and Everton are in advanced negotiations regarding Richarlison. The agreement should be around £60 million. As Brock says in the chat, Bruno Andrade is very good with news regarding Brazilian players. It's reliable. It is very reliable. I will preface further discussion with the disclaimer that a couple of weeks ago Bruno Andrade did jump the gun with the Richarlison news. I forget what the story was. I think he said that we were close to agreeing a deal or something, which, as we now know, was very, very premature. But he's still a Tier 1 source. He still has very, very good links to those within the game, to those within Brazilian football especially. So we can take this Richarlison news that he's bringing to us very, very well. And Charlie Eccleshare, who we know is a fantastic source for Tottenham news and who I'm hoping will be on this channel with me in the coming weeks, he's also said that Tottenham are in advanced negotiations to sign Richarlison and remain the favourites despite late Chelsea interest. Everton are hoping to receive £60 million. Now, with regards to Everton's pursuit of a forward, we have a very funny, or Chelsea's pursuit of a forward, we have a very funny update. As Vanilla mentions there on Rafinha later in the stream, the pull of Arsenal, the seismic shift that they're claiming has happened with Mikel Arteta has been absolutely crumbled. Again, we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But Tottenham seem to be closing in on this deal for Richarlison, and it's no surprise really. We know there's money available. Tottenham drew down £100 million of that ENIC investment last week, so that is there, ready to go in Fabio Paratici's back pocket, ready to make a signing. And we know striker has been, or a forward has been, a priority for us in this window. It has been for quite a while, but we've never really had the funds and the means necessary to actually get a big deal done. And it looks like we are going to get a big deal done. It's going to be the second deal this summer where we've signed one of the best player from a Premier League team. We bought Yves Bissouma from Brighton, and now we're getting Richarlison from Everton, and that for me is a big statement. The last time, I suppose the only time I can really remember Spurs doing that in recent memories, with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg from Southampton, and it was a little bit different because he was, he wasn't a quality statement signing, whereas we are getting two of those in this window, two of those in this month hopefully, to get Bissouma and Richarlison over the line. A couple of super chats there. Darkson G, thanks a million for the 5,001, says, I want that here we go for Richarlison because he is a good player who is playing for a bad club. He's one of my favourite non-Spurs players. Always use him in FM. And any stats that you're looking at with Richarlison last season, whether it's goals, assists, just any real impact he had, does have to be brought into context with the fact that he was playing for an Everton team that finished 16th, and up until the second last game of the season were fighting relegation, and we're in a very, very serious problem with two managers that just couldn't do it at the club. Frank Lampard obviously kept them up, but he's an absolute joke of a manager. Steve as well with the £4.50. Thanks a million for that, Steve. Says, great job as always, Matty. Great news on Richarlison. A bit off subject, but what do you think will happen with Sarr now with Basuma signing? I reckon Sarr will be loaned out again next season. I can't see him being anywhere near that Spurs team with the four options we have, but thanks to the two of you for those super chats. Fabrizio Romano, as Dark Sun G mentioned there, but here we go. It has not come yet from Fabrizio Romano. In fact, he's kind of been a bit quiet on this deal today, but he said earlier today and yesterday that Tottenham are definitely the front runners for Richarlison currently. There's no problem with the player side negotiations ongoing between Tottenham and Everton, and we'll touch in a second on why those negotiations with the two clubs could be delayed a little bit. But Romano also said on the Que Golazo podcast that Richarlison is one of the players on the list for Tottenham. We know that all too well. They already had direct talks with his new agents since April, so the players' side know about Tottenham's interest. So this isn't one that has just come up in the last couple of weeks or the last couple of days. This has been 2 months in the offing. And I suppose it's worth pointing out that, you know, people are getting kind of frustrated that this deal is dragging on, that the Jed Spence deal is dragging on, that we haven't been able to get these over the line as quickly as we did with Yves Bissouma. But the simple fact of the matter is all of the stuff that's going on now with Richarlison happened with Bissouma, but all behind the scenes. It's not like Tottenham just sent an email to Brighton one day. It's like, oh yeah, we'll give you 25 million. Then all of a sudden it's a deal agreed. There was a lot going on before we got to that point with Bissouma. The difference is now with Richarlison, it is all out in the open. And whether that's intentional from Tottenham or whether it's the Everton side of the deal that are leaking things earlier on, that's, you know, it was something that we won't quite find out. But it's also kind of irrelevant because this happens in almost every transfer that we do see. So there's no reason to be concerned with why this is dragging on like this. Fabrizio Romano yesterday as well said that Tottenham are now preparing a first bid for Richarlison. Now, what could it entail? Well, we know that Everton want £60 million. We know they kind of need close to £60 million anyway. There was a couple of reports earlier today on what Tottenham might have bid, both of which seem to be false, and both of which have been, well, one of which has been shot down by a more reliable source. So Sam Wallace and Jason Burt of The Telegraph reported that Tottenham offered Everton £20 million plus Steven Bergwijn, which Everton firmly rejected. So they're claiming it was 20 million plus Bergwijn. They're now saying that we've offered Harry Winks in a deal to sign him, but Everton have rejected that proposal as well. As we'll touch on in a couple of minutes, Mike Verwij of the Telegraph in the Netherlands said that Steven Bergwijn wasn't offered to Everton, and he's right on top of the Bergwijn deal to Ajax. So I kind of take his word a little bit more seriously on that. But there have been quite a few different players put into this deal, and it's a Fabio Paratici kind of style of business. You can also claim it's a Daniel Levy penny pinching tactic, but I'd be fairly confident that Paratici is in charge of this deal, and he's the one trying to get it over the line. Now, Wallace and Burt, the Telegraph, also said that Tottenham negotiations with Everton have become solely about Richarlison. Gordon was not a factor in most recent negotiations. So we streamed yesterday after the news from Lyle Thomas and Alistair Gold that Tottenham were potentially preparing a double swoop for Richarlison and Anthony Gordon, whereas at the moment that doesn't seem to be the case. So there's nothing to say that Tottenham won't go back in for Gordon after this deal is completed, or that they're not trying to get something done behind the scenes, but it does look as though at the moment the focus is purely on Richarlison, which would make more sense for Everton's financial situation to try and get that deal done early, because with Richarlison, it's a deal that all parties want to get done, whereas with Anthony Gordon, like Mark Douglas reported today, Everton will block any attempt by Tottenham to sign Anthony Gordon. The winger is also keen to remain at Goodison Park, so if that is one that Tottenham do want to go for, it'll just take that little bit longer, and at the moment the two clubs don't really have the time to do that, with Tottenham trying to get that replacement for Steven Bergwijn before he leaves, and with Everton looking to make a bit of money off a big sale, as they need to do to stay within those financial fair play limitations that have been questioned by Leeds and Burnley towards the end of the season. A few other reports on Richarlison. Nizar Kinsella, who was a Tier 1 Chelsea correspondent. Of course, Chelsea were also interested in signing the Brazilian, although it looks as though they will be wrapping up the signature of another. Well, Nizar Kinsella has said that Richarlison is expected to join Tottenham. Another report that was put out there earlier today, another bid that was mentioned, was from Charlie Wyatt of The Sun. Now, Charlie Wyatt in the past has had good info, and in the past has has been on the ball with some Tottenham news, but I have to say today it seems as though he was very, very wide of the mark, where he came out with an exclusive and said that Tottenham have made a bid of £80 million plus £20 million in bonuses for the Everton pair, Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. That's a lot of money. A lot of money for two players, and it just doesn't seem at this moment as though that is an accurate report. We got Bobby K. Welcome to the Championship channel member. Bobby, you're an absolute legend, and I can't wait to get on the channel with you and the two boys. Bobby says it's Maddie Hayes. Big up everyone in the chat. Big up yourself, Bobby. I really do appreciate it. Alfredo Padula said yesterday that Tottenham hold a very strong interest in Richarlison and lead Chelsea in the race to sign him. In the next few days, the two London clubs could go head-to-head. Much will depend on Everton's valuation. Now, the reason why Tottenham more than likely won't be going head-to-head with Chelsea in that is because, according to David Ornstein and more recently Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea have agreed a deal to sign Rafinha from Leeds for £55 million. David Ornstein said it's not done yet. Barcelona can't afford him, and Arsenal are not at the required price, and he said that Tottenham actually not mentioned. So it looks as though Chelsea will be wrapping up that deal for Rafinha, which will give Tottenham a clean run at Richarlison. If that was a problem in any case, it certainly won't be now. The last one on Richarlison, Jacob Steinberg have said that a move for Richarlison from Chelsea is not ruled out, but Spurs are the favourites to sign him. That again was yesterday, so I would assume that it's done. Carol says all Matt does is get information of Spurs website news. It's not hard to find this news. I mean, I've never said I go trawling the internet. I get all the reports, I bring them together, and I discuss them in what I think is a more accessible way for fans. So, Carol, if you don't like that, you don't have to watch, but I appreciate the 1,176 other of you that are watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button while you are here. Darksong G with another super chat says Richarlison's son Kane Kulu will be a very scary front four, and the thing is, it could be a front four. Ben Marlin, great to see you in the chat. It could be a front four. You know, we could rotate into different formations, into different styles, but if not, what we had last season where the impact man from the bench was a Bergwijn or a Lucas, they're good players, but they're not players that you want to bring on if you're looking for a last minute winner away to Manchester City, or if you're trying to get back into a game 3-2 down against Manchester United. You would rather have a Richarlison come on the pitch, or you would rather have, if Richarlison is starting, a Son or a Kulusevski or a Kane who is able to come off the bench. And alternatively, if you're missing one of those main front three in Son, Kane or Kulusevski, if one of them is injured, if they're suspended, if they need a rest, you have a very, very capable Premier League proven player coming in to replace them. And it's that depth, it's that competition, it's that additional threat that Tottenham have been lacking for so long. You know, I see a lot of people mention, well, who will Richarlison start ahead of, or 60 million is a lot to pay for a player that won't be starting. That's just really not the case. We could be playing potentially 50 to 60 games next season. You know, we're going to need every number that we can get in that squad. Also, looking at the fact that we're going to have 5 subs in the Premier League next season. This from Tottenham, I suppose he won't be a rotation player, but he's not going to be absolute number one name on the team sheet. We're spending £60 million on him. Huge statement from Tottenham, and it's one that I'm sure will scare some of the teams around us. Not Arsenal, they think they're bigger than everybody, but once the season starts, they'll realise. John with the super chat, the $2 says, "Come on, you Spurs. We love Spurs here in Tampa, Florida, US." John, thank you very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. With the over 1,200 people watching, let me know in the live chat where you're watching from. We've got John in Tampa. I'm sure we got people spread all around the globe as well, so please do let me know in the live chat. Rob with the $2 says, "Big up, Matty." Thanks very much, Rob. I appreciate it. Paul with the £5 says, "Would we go for Lewandowski if we could get him for 35 million if Bergwijn and Mora leave?" First of all, Paul, as well, thank you very much for the super chat. I don't think Tottenham will go for Lewandowski, purely because if he leaves Bayern Munich, it's to get that move to Barcelona. I think he just wants that 1 or 2 years where he can go and play for a club like Barcelona. Maybe he wants to play in La Liga before he retires. I think Bergwijn and Mora, Bergwijn will leave, Mora won't leave. So I think the Bergwijn out is being replaced by a Richarlison in, but Lewandowski, especially for 35 million at his age, it just doesn't seem like a sensible deal, and one that would just be extremely difficult to actually get over the line at this point. We got people from all over the place. Absolutely love that. Thanks everyone for tuning in from wherever you are. But yeah, just to finish off on the Richarlison deal, it's a huge one for Tottenham. It's again another statement of intent. It's another statement of, I suppose, the financial powerhouse that we are looking to become, and that we are potentially already with the cash injection from ENIC, with the the profits that we made throughout the pandemic. We actually, before we wrap up on that, The Athletic have said that Richarlison is the number one Tottenham forward target set by Antonio Conte this summer. So in the last couple of minutes, The Athletic confirming that, well, this is the player that Antonio Conte wanted. And look, I think Rafinha is a better player than Richarlison. I think he's more talented. I do think he is a better player. But I've said from day one, from the first minute in this, I said Rafinha is a better player, but Richarlison is just better suited to Antonio Conte. He's better suited to what we need right now, which is a player who can be versatile and play across that front line. He can step in for Kane if he has to, step in for Kulusevski if he has to. Patriots, thank you very much for subscribing. We got another super chat from David Marshall with the 450. Says, Matt, in a recent super chat I asked you about Richarlison. You said if Conte wants him, I'll go up there and carry him on my back. Is this still on? Look, if that is what has to happen, if Tottenham are spending so much on the player that we can't afford to actually get him, transported to Tottenham, I'll do that. I absolutely will do that. But thank you, David, for the super chat. We've Neville as well says, hey Matt, you champ, appreciate you. I appreciate you as well, Neville. Thank you very much for that support. Thank you everyone for the super chats. Keep them coming in. There's so many people in the chat, but if you get a super chat in, I'll have to stop and show you some love. So I appreciate everyone who is sending those in. Darkson G says, any transfers from Man U yet? Lol, we have more pull. Thanks again, Darkson G. It looks like they could be getting a few over the line, but none to the scale and the importance of what Tottenham are getting done. With like I mentioned, Anthony Gordon, the other player from Everton that we are maybe looking to bring in. Alan Myers, tier 1 source on the Everton side of the deal, has said that Everton have no interest in entertaining any kind of double bid for Richarlison and Anthony Gordon from Tottenham. The Babel as well has said that Everton, another tier 1 source, said that Everton are yet to receive any contact from any club for Anthony Gordon. As previously stated, every player has a price, which is the same at most clubs, but Everton are not concerned of losing Gordon this summer. So what that is telling me is they've put such a big price on his head that they don't expect any other team to reach that. And like I said yesterday, if it is 40+ million for Anthony Gordon, it's probably not a deal that is worth going for, because it is something of a risk. He's only 21 years of age. He's only had one proper season in the Premier League. So if they are asking for something huge, well then it is best, I suppose, if Tottenham stay clear of that. And we do have the biggest number we've ever had in a live stream here, the biggest number we've ever had on this channel, 1,350 people watching live. Please do smash that subscribe button. Charles in the chat is annoyed at you that there's only 300 likes. So let's get that number up. I'm sure we can get to 500 with all of you that are watching. Look, another player that I actually tweeted just before I came live, I kind of forgot about him. I kind of forgot about Jed Spence, and we had updates on him this morning. But with the way this day has gone with the Richarlison news, it's kind of gone under the radar. We've kind of forgotten about it. But the update from Alistair Gold was that the expectation within Middlesbrough is that they will eventually agree a fee for Jed Spence, but Paratici will have other targets up his sleeve if they do not. So I think the best indication that we had of Paratici's plan B and how he really knows how to have a kind of, what's the word? A plan in place in case it falls apart, whatever the word for that is. A contingency plan with Amrabat maybe being that in January if we didn't manage to get Bentancur over the line. When the Diaz deal fell apart, the Kulusevski was ready to go straight away. So we know Paratici does have these things lined up. So if Spence doesn't happen, again, it just seems like Middlesbrough value him at a much higher fee than Tottenham. We could have other players there. Mark there's mentioning Dumfries, Carrasco and Mela. They've all been mentioned as potential targets for Tottenham this summer. So it's not a concern that this hasn't been agreed, but we also want all these deals done before Antonio Conte brings his team to South Korea on that pre-season trip in about 12 or 13 days. So Tottenham will, I assume, once Richarlison is wrapped up, will move quickly for a right wing back and a left centre back, and hopefully we get some good deals over the line. James Ollie also said that Middlesbrough have given Jed Spence an extra week's holiday amid transfer discussions. Spurs lead the race to sign him, but Burr's high valuation is proving to be an issue. Neville with another super chat says, do you think we will go for Rafinha? I don't think we will. I don't think we really need to at the moment, but Chelsea have agreed a deal to sign him, so it looks as though they will get that one over the line. Michael says, Matt, any Clement Longley news? And we do have a bit of news on Clement Longley that is kind of surprising to me. Before I get to that, Richard Blackdog with a super chat says, no more nails, Gorilla Glue, adhesive Velcro, blue tack. Use bubblegum if you have to. Get that fortress back up on the wall. Look, it will. I promise it will get back up on the wall. It's going to get back up on the wall this week. That is a Matt Hayes guarantee. I promise that. But thank you, Richard, for the super chat. On Clement Longley, we've had quite a few reports, none that I would class as absolute tier one, or that I would class on the same level as a Bruno Andrade example, who's given us this Richarlison news. Matteo Moretto has said that Clement Longley is increasingly open to a move to Tottenham, and a key meeting is scheduled for the end of this week. So it seems as though Tottenham may be pushing to get Longley in on loan. Now, what that means for our other centre-back targets, I kind of don't want to think about it, because it's bad news for Bastoni, for Torres, for Ndika, for Nkapie or Incapi, we're going to talk about in a second as well. Sport have said that Clement Longley has been given 48 hours to decide on a move to Tottenham. And Mundo Deportivo, a more in-depth report saying that Tottenham have told Longley they want a decision this week on whether he will join on loan. The defender is close to saying yes to Tottenham after AS Roma interest dropped. They've also said that Tottenham are close to reaching an agreement with Barcelona to sign him on loan. Spurs have told him he has until the end of the week, otherwise they will move for other targets. So again, we do have other targets lined up. But for me, I kind of thought that Clement Longley was the other target. I thought Bastoni was number one. Vardiol now is apparently number one. We had Pau Torres in there as well. I thought Longley was going to be that other option, but if we're potentially moving for him, the plan B, the backup in June, I wonder, are actual targets just that impossible to get done? Which you would hope they aren't, but it looks as though that may be the case. But again, none of those exactly out and out reliable. They're good, they're decent reports. Matteo Moretto as well. I would kind of take his reports seriously, but all of them with a pinch of salt. But we'll see. We'll see where Tottenham's interest in Longley goes. Now on Piero Nkapie, who a lot of people have mentioned. I've seen Sukil in the chat for quite a while mentioning him, and Wesley bringing up the name as well. The Bayer Leverkusen sporting director was actually speaking about the player today, and on interest in him, he said basically one thing is clear. Piero has a long contract. He is a young player who is already constantly offering the highest level. We are very happy that he is here. So he's saying that maybe it will be a little bit difficult for any teams to tempt the player out of Leverkusen, or indeed to tempt the club to sell, because they have time on their side. He is young and he has a long-term contract, so it could take quite a hefty fee to get him out of the club. A few, again, unreliable reports, not unreliable but not reliable either. Kicker have said that rumours of a potential £34.5 million bid from Tottenham for Piero Nkapie on the horizon. Leverkusen sporting director refused to confirm whether that would be enough to sign the centre-back when asked. Marcus Thuram said that Tottenham and AC Milan have both made contact with Leverkusen over a deal for the defender. The defender wants to play Champions League football, which is another reason why some players just won't choose Arsenal. The Transfer Exchange show as well say that Tottenham are preparing a big offer for the Bayer Leverkusen defender. Spurs are willing to put €40 million on the table to sign the left-sided central defender. So one to probably keep an eye on there. Sukil, there's no deal agreed. I'm not sure where you saw that, but there's definitely no deal agreed for Nkapie to Tottenham. But it's just another name on the list, another name that we could maybe be going for at left centre back. But we'll just have to wait and see how things develop and really where this goes. And again, I think once Richarlison is wrapped up, which we do expect to be this week, we will then maybe move for a defender there, whoever it is. Richard says 15.2k subscribers, whoop whoop, a brilliant accomplishment for the channel. Says hit like, share and subscribe if you're new. Do listen to Richard. Charles says any news on other sales. So look, the main one is Steven Bergwijn. This has been rumbling on for way too long. I think we all just want this one to end either way. But like I mentioned earlier, the Telegraph reporting that Tottenham offered Steven Bergwijn as part of a deal to sign Richarlison from Everton, where Mike Vervoy from the Telegraph, who again is the number one source on this deal, has been right on top of Ajax's interest in Bergwijn since day one. He said that claims that Tottenham offered Bergwijn to Everton are not true. So Tottenham within those negotiations didn't make an offer for Bergwijn. However, he says that Everton are interested in the player, and Everton do want to sign the player. He claims that the Liverpool club have told Tottenham they would match their asking price for Steven Bergwijn and have presented the player a better contract than that from Ajax, but the player's preference remains with playing in the UCL in the UEFA Champions League with Ajax. So, look, this one has been dragging on since January, and we kind of expected that this would be wrapped up quickly, given the sales that Ajax have made in that time. They've sold Ryan Gravenberch to Bayern Munich. They've more recently sold who'd they sell? They sold another player. They sold Sebastian Haller to Borussia Dortmund. They have a lot of money there to to buy players. They're also potentially losing Lisandro Martinez to Arsenal. They could be losing Urian Timber and Anthony to Man United. There's a lot of money in that club to buy players, and they seem to be, letting this fall apart for the sake of £3.5 million. So Everton could end up going in and getting the player. Again, it will be in a deal separate to that sign with Richarlison, because that deal needs to be done this week. But Everton are very serious about this, and there was a report from somewhere else, it was from The Athletic, which you'll get to in a second, saying that if this Ajax deal drags on, Steven Bergwijn, despite wanting that move to Ajax, may just consider other Premier League clubs to get out of Tottenham, where he just isn't happy. Vervai also says that Steven Bergwijn is high on the wish list of Manchester United and Newcastle United, so there are other Premier League clubs interested in him. From the Tottenham point of view, Michael Bridge has said that Tottenham are getting frustrated with Ajax. They are not offering enough money for Steven Bergwijn, as we kind of knew, but Tottenham getting frustrated, there's nothing to say that they could just pull the plug on all negotiations and happily sell him to another Premier League team for a higher fee. It's probably not in our best interest to sell him to Man United, for example, who could be challenging for top 4 next season if Erik ten Hag gets this window right. But if we're going to get more money, ultimately it's probably better for the club if that does happen. The Athletic, as I mentioned, say Ajax are still pushing to sign Steven Bergwijn, and we're confident of doing a deal at £21.5 million, which they say is their limit. Bergwijn may consider, like I said, other Premier League clubs if it drags on. So Ajax's limit is £21.5 million. Tottenham apparently want £25 million. So there is a discrepancy there. It's not the biggest, but it's a discrepancy nonetheless. The Athletic have said now again in the last couple of minutes that Bergwijn has received interest from Everton and 2 other Premier League clubs for a potential transfer this summer, again believed to be Manchester and Newcastle United. And look, he's not the only player. The only Tottenham player that could end up going to Everton. Alex Crook of TalkSport has said that Joe Rodon is of interest to Everton. Liverpool Echo has said with Harry Winks, as we know, there have been talks there to get him to Everton. Harry Winks favours a move to Everton, who so far have failed to match Tottenham's £20 million valuation during talks, and instead want a loan deal, which just doesn't really fit what Tottenham want in this window. Like I mentioned, the Telegraph also saying that Winks was offered in the negotiations for Richarlison, but Everton turned that down. Other potential departures: Alistair Gold has said that Tottenham will listen to offers for Sergio Reguilón and Emerson Royal, but both players are believed to want to stay at Tottenham this summer. And look, they're 2 players that I think have a very good relationship with the fans. Emerson Royal definitely didn't until the end of the season, when he started playing well, and the compilations that he puts up on Twitter happen to be the best thing for Spurs now when we win a game. Forget Conte cam, we want the Emerson comp. But Tottenham, unsurprisingly, wanting to get rid of the 2 of them, with Reguilón being replaced by Perisic and with Emerson, as we hope, being replaced by Jed Spence, but it could be another player as well. Tudo Mercado said that Atletico Madrid have decided to step up their bid to sign Emerson Royal, with the Brazilian considered their top target for the right back role. They've gone on to say that Atletico Madrid have opened talks with Tottenham regarding a deal that could be a loan with an option to buy. So teams wanting loan deals from Tottenham I don't think is what we need right now. I don't think it's what we want right now. So hopefully they can start putting in proper offers, but I wouldn't hold my breath too much. We've got a few more reports to get through there. Before we do that, we have a super chat again from Dark Sun G. It says, after Richarlison, I hope we get 1 more forward, then 2 centre backs, 1 right wing back, and then 1 midfielder before the end of the window. If we can get these, I feel we can win at least 1 trophy. And look, we'll be getting a forward, a centre back, or 1 more forward after Richarlison. I'm not sure how realistic that is. We'll be getting a centre back and a right wing back. A second centre back would depend on outgoings, and a midfielder. I kind of felt we weren't going to get an attacking midfielder, but the way Alistair Gold has been talking about some things recently, I feel there could maybe be another attacking midfield target on the horizon. But let's wait and see where we go with that one. Before I get into these last few reports, again, as always, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We're hoping to get to 20k by the end of this window, which I know is probably impossible, but look, we might as well set our targets high. Please do hit that like button as well if you are enjoying this stream. But the final few reports, these are our lesser/unknown reliability reports, so I don't think there's anything to them, but as always want to bring them to everyone who is watching. Transfermarkt say that Tottenham and Chelsea have been given a definitive answer regarding their Josko Vardiol interest, and that answer is that he is not for sale this summer. 90 Minutes have said that Tottenham have also spoken to Everton about the availability of Jordan Pickford, but they do not view him as a target for this summer, with Hugo Lloris remaining the clear first choice between the sticks. La Nazione say the Fiorentina want to sign Tottenham midfielder Giovanni Lo Celso this summer after missing out on other targets. Sport Media Set say there is belief that Tottenham will soon present an offer to Torino for Gleison Bremer. The club's president is betting all his chips on Spurs coming forward. Bremer would prefer Inter Milan, but there is no agreement with Torino at the moment. And finally, La Stampa say that the Torino sporting director Davide Vegatti is set to fly to London this week for potential meetings with Tottenham and Chelsea about Gleison Bremer. So, look, Bremer has agreed personal terms with Inter Milan. They're struggling to put the money together to agree a deal with Torino. Maybe Tottenham sneak in there and get something done, but I think it's unlikely at this point. But look, we will wrap it up there. We've been going for about half an hour, as we usually do. Crazy numbers in the stream, let's be honest. We've had over 4,000 of you tuning in over the last half an hour, so we're on 499 likes with over 1,500 watching. So let's get that up to 600 as fast as we can. I would really appreciate it. And like I said, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We've recently surpassed the milestone of 15.2k, and we're actually very close to 15.3k. There's a lot of you have joined the channel during the stream, so I'd appreciate any more support we could get on that. We will be live again tomorrow night. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll be live on Thursday, and we will be live on Friday for a Tottenham transfer roundup at 7 p.m. each evening. We will also be going live if we have any breaking news in the meantime. Hopefully, we will, with deals agreed, with the Here We Go, and with the announcement for Richarlison, which I'm kind of hoping will be this week. So please, again, do hit that subscribe button if you do want that. Actually, you know what? We're going to take, for about 10 minutes, we're going to take some questions from the chat. I nearly forgot that bit of the stream. God, we can't do that. So any transfer questions you have, anything at all, get them in the chat, and we'll get through those. Bobby K and Zoe, thank you very much for the kind words. Bobby with the says, guys, please stop with the Arteta hate. He's world class and deserves a 15-year contract. Trust the process. Yeah, trust the process. Don't slag Arteta, because then Arsenal might sack him, and we don't want that. Just for anyone who has missed it, by the way, if you want to laugh at Arsenal, Chelsea have agreed a deal to sign Rafinha. So the player that Arsenal were so excited to get, and he was going to improve them this way and that way, and he's going to make them this good and that good. It's just not happening. And I find that very funny. Mike says Gordon as a right wing back. Look, he's good defensively, but I don't think he's good enough. He's good defensively as an attacker, I suppose, is the best way to say that. He's good at pressing from the front. I don't think he has the physical stature to be a right wing back for us, to be honest. I wouldn't get too excited about that one. Carl says, is there any chance that Tottenham could include Bergwijn in a deal for Anthony? I'm not really sure how serious Tottenham's interest in Anthony is. I think Miguel Delaney is the most reliable that's reported it so far. And I think if we were going to try and get him, if we were going to do something like that, I would assume it would have happened by now. So I would say it's unlikely, but as always, it is a possibility. Adrian says, update on Inter's situation, Bastoni forced to move. To be honest, it's kind of surprising to me that they haven't made a big sale by now. Some reports suggesting that PSG are pulling out of talks for Milan Skriniar. If that does happen, Bastoni could be back on the cards, and again, maybe that is why Tottenham aren't moving for a left centre back. But their situation seems to have gone very, very quiet, which is confusing to me. Kim says, Matty, give us a wave. Matty, give us a wave. In pure Dele Alli style. Good to see you, Kim. Darksoon G with another super chat. You are a legend. Says, I feel that Gunner's pull is Jesus level max. It is. It really is. And someone put it up on Twitter just before I went live. I want to get who it was. It was Hotspur Edition on Twitter. Was saying that Arsenal fans are giving out now, saying, "Oh, Rafinha didn't reject us because we didn't even have a bid accepted." But they're the ones for the last week saying that Jesus rejected Tottenham when we didn't even make a bid in the first place. So Arsenal fans are being Arsenal fans. Simple as that. Kishan, thank you very much for subscribing. Carl says Traore talk has gone quiet. It has, and I'm kind of grateful that it did. King Hoddle says, will we get a more creative midfielder or playmaker? I think not. Again, look, I didn't think that we would, but Alistair Gold, in an article he did during the week, mentioned something. It was something along the lines of depending what attacking midfielder Tottenham gets. So maybe we are targeting a player in that position, which I don't think we necessarily need, but would offer us a lot of flexibility in the formation that we play and the style, and hopefully it'll be a player that can help us break down a low block, because we really do need that. Mark says, will Troy Parrott go to Middlesbrough on loan next season, which will broker a deal for Spence coming the other way? I'm not sure what potential destinations there are for Troy Parrott. I know Swansea and QPR have been mentioned, but Middlesbrough I'm not sure have been mentioned. And again, like I suppose I said with the Bergwijn Anthony thing, if that was an opportunity, I think it would have been explored by now. And I also think that Parrott may be given a chance to prove himself for Conte and be a part of the first team this season before going out, but I imagine it will end up with him going down to the Championship anyway. Irfan says, are we getting Richarlison? I'm 99% sure that we are. Let's put it that way. Edgeley says, Chelsea now going for Skriniar. No chance for Bastoni. I apologise if I pronounced your name horrifically there, but Chelsea in for Delict as well. So that it could be, depending on what centre-back they get, it could affect Tottenham that way. Let's see what else we have. AJ says, how high in the league do you think we'll finish this coming season? I think we'll finish third. I think we're going to be in that middle ground that Chelsea were in last season, because they're in a very precarious position right now, and I think we're just too far behind Liverpool and City, and I mean that's not a bad thing. They're two of the best teams that English football have ever seen. Bobby K says 20 more likes to 600. Hit the like. Listen to Bobby K. If that's the one thing you learned from this stream today, it's that you always got to listen to Bobby K. Thank you very much for the support, Bobby. I do appreciate it. Also, Fabrizio said Chelsea will sign 2 centre backs. Well, that could be script. I suppose they kind of have to if they are losing. They've lost Christensen, they've lost Azpilicueta, they've lost Rudiger. So maybe they need more than just 2 centre backs, to be honest. Jake Keaveney says, have you seen Tanguy's training vid? I have, and I think that's just to drum up interest in teams that are trying to sign him. I really, 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 really don't want to see Tanguy Ndombele in a Spurs training kit ever again, not to mind a Spurs jersey, after the disrespect and just what he did in that Morecambe game. There's no coming back from that. There's really no coming back from that. Mehdi says, sorry man, no support from me since you enjoy Richarlison coming. Well, do you know what? It's very, very, very mature of you to disrespect other people because they have different footballing opinions. Very mature. Deborah says Tottenham need to buy Anthony. Mustafa says Ndombele can play in a cam role. He is hated by most fans though, and again it's for what he did to those fans in that Morecambe game. Zoe says, would you take an Ndombele swap with Neymar? Do you know what? I have a feeling this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I wouldn't want Neymar at Tottenham. I wouldn't want him anywhere near Spurs. He's like, he goes missing around March every year to go and celebrate birthdays back in Brazil. I think for me, he's just the type of player that you want to keep away from your football club. Honestly, maybe he's the one where if he's playing against you, you hate him, but if he's playing for you, you probably love him. But no, I wouldn't want Neymar anywhere near Tottenham, to be honest. Zach Holloway says Neymar on $1 million a week. It would definitely be a lot of money. Miss Bowl says, would you be happy with Spence and Doherty as right wing back options next season? I wouldn't be happy with that either. I've said all along that I think if Tottenham are getting Spence, that we probably need to get another more experienced right back as well, like kind of maybe a Perisic style of signing on the other side, because Spence plus one of Emerson or Doherty just isn't a very it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, to be honest. Scott says, can you say hello to my wife Cassie? Hello Cassie, thanks for tuning in. Slim Boy says Neymar is the most overrated player in football. I would agree with that. Well, maybe not the most overrated, but he's definitely one of them. Technically, unbelievable. One of the best I've ever seen, but he ruins it with the antics all around. Bird's Eye View says, will Conte sign a new contract once the transfers he wants comes in? I don't think he'd sign a new contract this summer. He has 1 year left, but Tottenham then have the option to extend that by a further year. So it is essentially a 2-year contract left at the moment. So I think he'd be foolish to sign one this summer, to be honest, because we know how he may just turn around and decide to leave on a random day. So I don't think that'll happen. Let's take one more question. And as always, it's got to be a good question. And there is a good question there. Billy Price says, will you watch any of the Arsenal All for Nothing on Prime Video? I will watch every second of that documentary with the biggest smile on my face. Watching them get excited, watching their optimism grow when they win that first half against Manchester City, when they put the pressure on at the Etihad, when it's going to be the most joyous experience of my life, watching the pain in that football club when they lose at White Hart Lane and then they go and whatever it was they did at Newcastle. It certainly wasn't playing football. That is going to be a very special experience, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. But yeah, look, we will wrap it up there. We still somehow have 1,356 of you watching. Please do hit that like button if you haven't already. We're at 629, so let's get that up to 700. There's at least 600 of you who hasn't hit that. And please do make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. We're very, very close to 15.3k. And YouTube is telling me that where can I find this? 47.6% of you aren't subscribed. So 47.6 of you watching right now aren't subscribed. So please, if you are one of those people, if all of you did hit that, we'd have like 600-700 new subscribers and we'd smash the 16k mark. So please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Darkson G with a final super chat. Again, you're a massive supporter of the channel. It is really appreciated. Says, if we get Richarlison plus 3 or 4 more in, do you think Kane will extend his contract? Because he is probably looking at our signings and enjoying the new incomings. Look, the more I think about it, the more I think in the next year, Kane probably does sign a new contract, because I think the boat has sailed for him to go to one of the big Premier League clubs. And yes, he'll want to win silverware. I think obviously the ideal one for him was going to Man City and winning the Premier League. He will want to win silverware, but I also think he wants that Shearer record. And if he stays at Tottenham and if we start getting back on an upward trajectory, for me, he smashes that Shearer record. And I don't think he'd be willing to sacrifice the chance of that record to win a Bundesliga or a La Liga or something like that. So the more I think about it, the more I can see Kane signing a contract over the next 12 months. Ryan in the live chat says, I am buzzing. And it doesn't surprise me that, relevant to Tottenham and our left centre-back targets, that Newcastle United have confirmed they have agreed a deal in principle with Lille to sign Dutch defender Sven Botman for an undisclosed fee. That's a very, very good signing for Newcastle. They continue to make good deals. And it's just another left centre-back off the market for Tottenham. But again, we will wrap it up there. I really appreciate all the support. Richarlison has come to Spurs. But from me, for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.